Boom. What you need to do is you need to jump on the thingamabob. Let me just push this back a bit. And you need to tell me if this broadcast is clear. It's a beautiful Saturday evening, and I must tell you that I'm 1 minute late, which isn't bad. For all intent and purposes, it could be worse. You know why? Because this is Simoson Building in the CBD. Anything can happen. At least give me credit for showing up semi on time. You know, it reminds me of that film, The Sentinel. Remember that one? Did you ever see The Sentinel with Eva Longoria? I think Donald Sutherland was in it or someone. No, it was Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer, thank you, Nathan. Kiefer Sutherland was in it with Eva Longoria. And the very first scene in the film is, I think Kiefer is waiting for Eva Longoria's character to show up. They were supposed to rendezvous, supposed to meet at some point. And I think they play FBI or CIA agent something. And Eva Longoria shows up, and Kiefer Sutherland's character says to Eva Longoria, "You're late." And she says, "Well, it's only 1 minute late." And he says, "Yeah, you're late." Stacy B, I see you. You were on time. Thank you, Stacy. I need that support system. I do. Nathan, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that. Guys, let's jump on here real quick. Just on a personal level, I don't want you to think that I've been in the office all day. I haven't. I've been from morning till about 30 minutes ago. I've been home the whole day. I've just been hanging out at the house, you know, with my wife and the kids. My wife is leaving tonight for Kenya. She's going over there with my daughter and my grandkids. Here's the great thing about being a grandparent. You know, my daughter's going for work. You know, she's a medical doctor. So she has a workshop. And she asked my wife, her mom, if my wife could tag along and take care of the kids. And my wife she is elated. She would love nothing better than to have her plane ticket paid for, staying at a really nice hotel in exchange for taking care of her grandbabies. So the flight leaves later tonight. And so all day today, I've been hanging out with the family and the wife. So from here, I'm going to drive back home. And then later on tonight, I'll take them to the airport and they'll be gone for a week. Did I tell you very quickly before I get into my dissertation? Initially, I lost my ring. Guess what? The maid found it. A day after that, I lost my watch. Guess what? The maid found it. Here's the lesson. In the Zambian context, whenever you lose something, ask the maid. She will probably know where the item is. So shout out to the maids in Zambia. Alrighty. Guys, let's get into it real quick. Please tell me in the comments of this broadcast. Yes, Stacy, I lost my watch. I got it though. Please tell me in the comments if this broadcast is clear and we can get this show on the proverbial road. Couple of things I want to talk to you about, although I must mention here very quickly. I heard a clip of Lily Lunatic Matambo in reference to Makebi Zulu. She was trying to advance this argument that Makebi Zulu is out of his depth, you know, and that she knows this because she has worked with HH. She made this statement. She said, "I've worked with HH. I know how HH thinks." Well, the truth is, Lily Lunatic Matambo has never at any time worked with the head of state. What is more accurate is that for many, many months, she had been trying to penetrate and infiltrate the UPND power structure by being nominated as a candidate for one of the constituencies here in Osaka. Her goal was to get in goody-goody, sort of rub shoulders with the party elite of the UPND. And in an effort to do that, she went on this egg campaign. She was distributing eggs like you would not believe. I mean, she had eggs running out of her ears. I mean, that was her campaign tool, you know, was to distribute eggs. In her mind, at some point, she really deduced, she sort of surmised that her distribution of eggs would get her the nomination. Well, the truth is that effort landed with a hollow thud, and she came out with absolutely zero. The UPND saw her for what she was, a traitor, a money grubbing, not grabbing, grubbing. Because, you know, sometimes in Zambia we mispronounce that word. It's money grubbing, not money grabbing. It's money grubbing hussy. They recognized her for what she is, a traitor, a backbiter, a money-grubbing, no-good, two-bit hussy that would sell you up the river for next to naught. Once they recognized that, you know, they sort of put a line through her name instead of under it. They sort of discarded her. It was only then that her fangs grew and she grew claws and hair coming out of the back of her head. You know, homegirl looked like a werewolf. I mean, literally, she was out there looking like she-devil. You know, she is the devil woman. She's gonna get you now. Lily Lunatic Matans. She is the devil woman. She's gonna get you. Boy, tell you, when the full moon came out, boy, she was out there howling. And it was then that she turned her back on the UPND and she became UPND enemy number one. So it is not correct. It's inaccurate. It's disingenuous for Lily Lunatic Mutambo to suggest that she worked closely with HH. She has never worked closely with the president. Never. Not at any one time. The closest she ever came to UPND power was her trying to get in goody-goody with the UPND secretariat by trying to con those guys at the secretariat. Kuti, she is the best viable candidate to take over in whatever constituencies that she was vying for. The UPND saw her for what she was, and they put a line through her name instead of under it. Okay, enough about that lunatic. Boy, I tell you, my blood boils when I talk about that chick. Honestly, really. It yanks my chain, it ruffles my feathers, it just makes my skin crawl. That hussy, boy, I tell you what. You know, if Lily Lunatic Mutambo was on fire and the only way to put out the fire was for me to spit on her, honey, I wouldn't spit on her to put out that fire. Burn, baby, burn. Okay, that's it. Guys, let's very quickly talk about, I'm concerned, I really am, especially that I spend most of my working life in the CBD. And you have to understand me from that context. For those of you that live outside of Lusaka's CBD, some of you have the privilege of working in other, you know, you work in the suburbs or the burbs, as they call them. You don't have the hassle that we have, we that work here in the CBD. The Central Business District of Lusaka is a very politically charged area. And for many, many years, we went through hell during the PF. And it was a breath of fresh air when Hakainde Hichilema and his team won in 2021. For the very first time, we saw some semblance of order. Now, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, an incident took place in Chingola that could potentially, in my view, spark a little bit of unrest. But if properly managed, it will serve as a learning point, and it'll help us as Zambians and as the electorate. And what I'm talking about is this. Many of you remember Hakainde Hichilema, upon hearing that the people of Chiwempala in the Chingola area had gone through something that many communities in Zambia have experienced, and that is the burning or the gutting of markets. Markets, as you know, are owned by the city. They're owned by the council. They are the preserve of the local authority. And they're not privately owned. At least they're not supposed to be. I wish they were, but they're not. So in Chiwempala, you know the story, a market there was gutted. And the head of state paid a visit to that region. It would not have been prudent. It would not have been correct. It would not have been wise for Hakainde Hichilema to go to that region and not visit the burnt market it would not have been wise. So what he did was he decided not only was he going to visit the area, but he was going to provide some semblance of assistance, some form of help, some solution to the difficulty of the victims of the burnt market in Chiwempala. I saw many notables, some musicians and notable people that went to Chiwempala to simply offer solidarity, to simply show up and say, yo na tumfa kuno atina chi market chali pia, yo kwena mwachure ni chabipa, yo mkwaitu achise byati tumiebe ati nachi bipa, chafuma na muku bipa, chasaunka chimbi, so tuletifye mkwai mwachure ni. Epera wafuma pono kufuma. That is all they did. There are some people, let me translate that. There are some people who went to that market. The only thing they did was offer solidarity. They just offered words of encouragement. They just offered words of edification. We have heard that your market has burnt. We are sorry for your loss. So we have just come to just say, sorry. But the head of state went beyond that. He went further than that. Not only did he go there to offer solidarity, but he went there with a package of assistance. 10 million kwacha, which is not by any measure a small feat. But the problem was that his visit was clouded, not crowded, clouded. Imagine the cloud, overcast, okay? Clouded by the issue of Senseli mine. I know this because an hour before the president showed up at Chiwempala market, I had the privilege of mingling and mixing and talking to the people of Chiwempala. And that is when I got the sense of why most of those people were there. The vast majority of those people at Chiwempala market waiting to receive the president, they were not there because of the bent market. They were there to air their grievances concerning Senseli. You know Senseli in 2023, there's a mine, an illegal mine that our young people in that area, Chingola, Chiwempala, they had, past tense, they had unfettered access to this mine. They would literally barrel themselves into the ground, and they were like, in the process of illegally mining gemstones and precious stones. In 2023, more than 27 youth died. They were buried alive in that market. The government, in an effort to curb further incidences similar to that one of 2023, the government shut down Senseli and said, illegal mining is not only risky, is not only dangerous, but it breeds warlords. It creates an environment where certain people feel that they own a certain area, and because of the money, because of the revenue they make from precious stone and gold and so on, they have the ability now to buy guns, machine guns, employ an army of youth. They become warlords. It's a very complicated thing. And let me tell you, the night that incident happened, where a handful, it was just a cluster, a small group of youth that threw stones at the presidential pavilion. That night, I was standing in line, eating dinner, serving myself in the buffet line. The Americans call it the smorgasbord. And a man from Congo approached me and said, Mr. Mwewa, if this government does not contain illegal mining, Zambia will become like Congo. Congo, there are certain areas in Congo, the authorities can't even go there. Army can't go there. Police can't go there. I heard Sparks Mining say something, and you see, when you're listening to Sparks, you must understand, read between the lines when he's talking. He said, here, the police can't come here. Underneath his delivery on video, on Facebook, it sounded as if he was making a plea. He was pleading with the authority and the government to bring peace. But there's something he said that was very, very telling about the real situation in Chingola, Chiwempala. Sparks said, the police can't come here. Do you know what he was saying? Do you know what he meant by that? There are areas that are controlled, fully controlled by Jeroboams, fully controlled by these mining warlords, that the police can't even go there. That is not the society we want. You cannot allow that to spawn and to grow and camouflage it in the name of entrepreneurship and empowerment of Zambians. No, you are creating a recipe for disaster. You are creating a situation where warlords, because of and these young men are making a revenue in US dollars. They are making money hand over fist. They are the same boys who have access now to buying guns. They have access now to employing an army of youth who will be loyal to them. In the next 5 years, if that is allowed to continue, you will have a situation like Congo, where certain areas will be a no-go area for law enforcement, a no-go area for police, a no-go area for authority, a no-go area for government officials. Is that what you want? You want us to be like Congo in the name of entrepreneurship, in the name of empowering the youth? No, basieni. Do you even know what you're saying? You don't know what you're talking about when you say basieni. You are creating an atmosphere of lawlessness. You are creating a conducive atmosphere for warlords. People that have it in their head that a certain territory is the preserve of their own power and that government has no say on that in that territory. But our laws are very clear. Our laws are there to be followed. If you don't follow those laws, you are breeding chaos, which is what is trying, the people in Chingola are trying to spawn that idea of leave us to do what we want to do. Wrong. This is a government, this is a country of laws. This is not Congo. Understand that. Zambia is not Congo. And don't allow a situation where we become like Congo. It will be unmanageable. You think it's child's play. It's not child's play. It's not. When warlords begin to dig roots in a community. I mean, there are parts of Chingola where these Jeroboams are the kingpins of an area. What is that? That is nonsense. That is nonsense. You can't have people who are kingpins. No. Be part of the economic growth of a country. Not for you to say you are a kingpin. No. That is lawlessness. That type of thinking breeds murder, gang activity, and the same Jeroboams who now deal illegally acquire minerals through illegal mining. They're the same ones who now go into the illegal drug trade. They become drug traffickers as well. It's a deep, complicated, sophisticated rabbit hole. You think you are just looking at it from the surface. Deep down, it's a much bigger problem than you think. So the government is, and every government has to deal with this. In Zambia, every government has to, but this is the first administration, in my view, second. First it was UNIP. UNIP had a very strict, firm grip on the minerals of this country. UNIP. UNIP didn't play around. It was after UNIP, MMD, from MMD up to PF. From MMD up to PF is now you have this idea where people can just do whatever the hell they want to do because they're Zambians, because we're black, we can erect illegal mining. No, you are breeding kingpins. You are making warlords. In 20 years from now, there are places, if this is allowed to continue, there are places in Zambia no one will be allowed to go to. Is that what you want? You want us to be like Congo? No. We are a country of laws. So when you hear the head of state say no illegal mining, that's what he means. He's not trying to disenfranchise you, no. And if there, again, now let me also very fairly state that there are some people within the system who have taken advantage of this pronouncement of no illegal mining. But they've gone in there themselves and they are conducting illegal mining. And the young people are seeing it. They're saying, if I'm late to leisure, but you are doing it and you are covering it under legality. Those are the things the administration has to deal with. And they have to deal with it aggressively. If you don't, young people are going to cite you for being unfair. That's the issue here. But the heart of the matter is sound. No illegal mining. So, when President HH went to Chiwempala to offer solidarity, and he announced a package, an assistance package of 10 million kwacha, those people in Chiwempala were not interested in that package. The only thing they were interested in was Senseli mine. And this is the reason the Minister of Mines did not go to that market, because it would have deterred, the presence of the Minister of Mines would have deterred the core message of President Hakainde Hichilema's visit. Tell me if you understand that. Tell me in the comments. I need for you to get that before I continue. Because some people asked, but the minister, where was the Minister of Mines? Why did we sell a Minister of Mines? The reason is very simple. At that event, the only reason the president went there was to address the issue of the burnt market. The presence of the Minister of Mines there would have exacerbated the situation, because most of those people in the crowd were there to hear about Senseli mine. And if they had seen the Minister of Mines there, that kerfuffle that was there would have grown bigger. Because those chaps would have said, no, our Minister of Mines, and now, when that, it's important also to understand that by and large, the videos are there. Of course, you have people like Lili Lunatic Mutambo who try to change the narrative. You have people like Binwe Mpundu who try to twist the narrative to his advantage. But the truth is, when the head of state first arrived, the videos are there. He was welcomed thunderously. The people of Chiwempala were very happy to see him. The problem came when the district UPND official addressed them before the president spoke. The district UPND official hinted that the government was going to give the young people Senseli mine. That is when the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. That was the only time that crowd was happy. But the Copperbelt provincial minister, he saw that there's a problem here, because the district UPND official was not giving the crowd the correct information. The district UPND official's message was diametrically opposed. It was different from the president's position on illegal mining. So the Copperbelt provincial minister stood up now to clarify the matter to the crowd. The provincial Copperbelt minister said, no, Bane, this administration is very strict on illegal mining. Mama. Lekeni no mbaba icheba pene. Baleti mwefyo mulera ndatafikwa tena nchito. Tipeni fye senseri. Fyo mulera ndapa illegal mining tachabombe. And to try in an effort to allay the anxiety of the crowd, the Copperbelt minister, it was then that he announced that, no, the president is here to help you with a package of 10 million. Yo! You don't know much about West. If you buy him, your 10 million taikwe 10 chito. If you try for mine. And it was from there, it was downhill from there. By the time the president was speaking, the crowd had already turned hostile. When the president stood up to say, Vane, if there are issues to discuss, we just discuss. Now, it's important. I was there because, some people just speak. They were not there. How can you listen to the people who were not there? Listen to the people who were there. Binwe was not there. Harry Kalaba was not there. Given Nubinda was not there. Emmanuel Propaganda Mwamba was not there. Raphael Hijack Nakachinda was not there. Sean Lunatic Looney Tunes Tembo was not there. None of them were there. I was there. I was standing right by the podium. When the president said, Bane, let's just, if there are issues to discuss, let's discuss them. It was only a handful of youth that started throwing stones. Now, how many people know that all it takes, you can have a crowd of 10,000 people. All it takes is one person to injure, to harm the head of state. It only takes one person. Only one. So I don't want you to get it in your mind that no, the president can only be harmed if there are 10,000 people attacking the podium. No, it just takes one person. I was there. I saw the kerfuffle. I could see, and let me tell you, I have to side note here, and I have to share this with you, because I know kada noise when I hear it. I know kerfuffle. In English, we say kerfuffle. I know kerfuffle when I hear it. The president knows kerfuffle when he hears it. I was standing right by the podium and I was looking at him. The moment the first stone hit there were 3 stones. There were about, from my vantage point, there were 3 stones. The first one, the president could hear the commotion and he turned. Now, when the first stone was thrown, it was then that the police decided, oh, this might turn hostile. So they tried to now remove the young people standing on top of the buildings surrounding the podium. You know, where we were, it was, looking back in retrospect, it was unwise for State House and the police to place the president in that position. Very unwise, because the podium, the president's podium, was literally surrounded. And there were young people standing on top of roofs, standing at an elevated position, looking down at the president's pavilion. Anyone who wanted to harm the president could have easily done that from an elevated vantage point, looking down at the pavilion of the president. Anyone could have harmed the president at that point. This is the reason State House security, they need to up their game. State House security, these are things they should have taken into account before they went there. Not every crowd is going to cheer the president. You must understand that. That's the reason 2.8 million people voted for HH. 1.8 million people voted for the PF. Every country has opposition. It's not like that farce in Tanzania where they announced that more than 95% of the population voted for that Tanzanian government. That is nonsense. You can't have there's no such thing. You can't have 95% of the population voting for you. That is unrealistic. My point is, not every crowd the president addresses is for him. So security has to be paramount. State House cannot be thinking after the fact. Let me say that again. State House cannot be thinking, cannot take action after the fact. They should be proactive. They should know that, where's the president going to stand? Okay, he's going to stand here. Okay, guys, you see that these elevated points, plant security there. Nobody should stand on those buildings. Ensure that the air. That is what State House police is supposed to do. State House security is supposed to do. You can't just walk into a crowd and assume the whole crowd will love the president. No, that is not democracy. There are people for, there are people against. The only thing that we have to safeguard ourselves against is anarchy. Nobody wants harm brought to the head of state. So, and also I noted, very, very sadly, I noted that when the president arrived at Chiwempala, amidst thunderous applause and welcome. The videos are there. We're not making this up. They were there. I was there. They welcomed him. But what I found disturbing was the president was walking ahead of the police. The police were behind the president. Parapolice behind the president. He's walking in, and the president insisted. The president, no, TNM market. I could hear one of those officials, party officials, trying to convince the president not to go deep into the market. The president said, no, I got a bit scared. I thought, you know. But when he walked in there, inside, deep into the market, police were behind him when they should have been in front of him, left of him, right of him, and behind him. But they were behind him. And I got a bit nervous. I'll be very frank. I said, if police, you know, all it takes is one drunk person to harm the head of state. But I must report to you, and accurately, because I was there, the skirmishes, the confusion that erupted when they threw the third stone. Because by the time they were throwing the third stone, because I'm 56 years old, I've been around cadres for many, many years. I know the language, I know the noise, I know the sound of confusion. I know the sound of impending doom. I know it. There's a sound. And you only know it if you know it. I can't describe it to you. But when you hear it, you know immediately, oh, apa, fiapena. Immediately, I very quickly walked behind the step. By the time I was walking past the... Oh, and by the way, let me very, very quickly... kudos to presidents... the man... Tell me in the comments. The man who stands behind the president. What do you call him? There's a man who's always with the head of state. He's always... Wherever the president goes, this man is always there. What do you call him? What's the title of that job? Tell me in the comments. Before we don't know these things, we have to be educated. Share with me in the comments, who is that man who stands behind the president at all times when the president is addressing a crowd? Who is that? The aide. ADC, that's right. Kudos to that man. That man, the moment he heard the first signs of noise, he just walked straight up to the president and said, Mr. President, let's go. Now, if you see the video, I was standing right. You know, somebody said that humor is tragedy in retrospect. Humor is tragedy in retrospect. Or is it tragedy is humor in retrospect? I laugh now, but at the time, I can promise you there was nothing funny about that situation. Because imagine we were surrounded. The whole place was surrounded. There were more than 7,000 people there. Now, in the midst of confusion, 7,000 people looks and sounds like 7,000 hostile people. At that time, it's not apparent, it's not very clear that it's only a small group of people. But when you are in the thick of it, all those people you are seeing, 7,000, in your mind, you are thinking, 7,000. When the president's aide sensed discomfort, he sensed danger, he very quickly walked over to the podium and he put his arm around the president and said, Mr. President, let's go. And I was standing right by the podium. The president... you could clearly hear President HH saying, no, it's okay. But I hate DC, but no, Mr. President, let's just go. HH wanted to stay there. He wanted to stay. The ADC said, no, Mr. President. The moment ADC, or that man, insisted that they leave the podium, in my mind, I was thinking, Apapa President Ngabaya, ndekopa muna mwine mu crowd ndepitana mu crowd imwatishani mweba mawe na leti in my manners chapwa nebalanjipa chapwa na ya Gloria. So in that moment, so I looked up at the stage and I saw the president being whisked away. It was my cue. I said, okay, I need to look for the car that we came in. Now, I didn't want to draw attention to myself, because in that confusion, in my mind, I was thinking, apanga na abutuka. If I start frantically running, looking for the vehicle, my concern was someone was going to shout, "Ere chochi chitambalecho, ichochi fazecho, chiminikeni." In my mind, I was fully prepared to hear someone scream, "Ichochi fazecho." So I very quickly, I decided in that moment I wasn't going to run, but I was going to walk very briskly. I was going to walk very fast. The video is there. I mean, for those of you there, I was at the barbershop the other day, and my barber was telling me that he watched the video live on my TikTok account when I was walking swiftly towards the car. And honestly, really, had I stayed back just 1 minute, had I stayed back and decided to film in the crowd, I'm telling you, nkubafye ngabadi nsha. Ilia motoka ilia chita carry ama journalists and the media pool. I'm telling you, ngabadi nsha, they would have just left me behind. They would have just said, "Iwe, tuleya." Because when I got to the vehicle, thankfully, I'm telling you, thankfully, there was no driver in the vehicle, but the vehicle was open. So very quickly, I opened it. Now, there was a young chap following me. Can you imagine? In the midst of confusion, there was a boy. I left a picture. No, mwewa, ka selfie. Inena njumutima tamudi. Depe mena fepa zero. Deti apatwa sanswa. Chapa gloria twaya. I opened the door. I sit in the front seat. I knew that if I close the door, selfie, he will bring attention to me. And I was thinking, attention, the people who are running, they'll stop and say, "Hey, so my concern was they'll start stoning the vehicle. So to allay him, to calm him down, I said to him, "No, boy, copa picture. Now, chiletifye chakopa elo chilevo kopa na futi. Chiletifye tulikuna na kuli ba mwewa, tulina ba mwewa kuno." He took about 4 or 5 pictures. Na njumu timaini tamuri. But I'm trying to be as calm as possible so that I don't bring attention to the vehicle. Finally, thank goodness, akopa katushinga pictures yadi 10 or 15, I don't know. But after akopa, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Mwewa." I left map of your door na chisafe slam. But when I saw the door, when I closed the door, 3 or 4 of my fellow journalists, they jumped in the car. Apopene drive na waingira. Tuleni. It was in that moment that I realized, had I not been in that car, no one was going to say, "Imwe ngamwe wali kwisa." No one was going to say, "Imwe SML TV tadimo." They can tolerate it first. Let us just wait for SML. I'm sure he's somewhere in the crowd vlogging. I'm sure he's in the crowd getting views of the populace. Had I not been in that vehicle, because I'm telling you, that was the only vehicle that was going to take me to the chopper. From there, we were going to the chopper. Had I not gone to the chopper was not going to say, "Where is SML? Where is he? You journalists." There was going to be nothing like that. When we got into the chopper, as soon as we got there, the pilot was just pow, 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 pow. Film. Now, of course, in retrospect, it was not as bad as it appeared to be, because it was only later that we discovered that it was only just a handful of young men. And also, kudos to the police. The police contained those boys. They contained them. Now, let me come to the issue now. Cadres, and this is a very important point I want to make. And I want to be clear when I say this. Cadres, in any capacity, in any political party that is serving as the current administration, cadres cannot protect the head of state. That is not their job. That's not their mandate. The head of state is protected by state authority. That is the way it's supposed to be. Do you know how easy it is to infiltrate cadres? But there was that issue. No, the PF were trying to offer solidarity to Kuriba, former head of state. No, if we are going to protect the president. Cadres cannot protect the president. That's not their job. If you leave it to cadres, if cadres today rose up and said, no, if we now we're going to take over state security, they are not even trained for that. Do you know how easy it is for anyone to come and say, no, me, I'm UPND, because I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm wearing a beret, a red beret, I'm loyal to the president. We don't even know who the hell you are. You're not vetted. You could be anybody. The cadre power structure is so easily manipulated. Anyone can infiltrate a party, a cadre power structure. Anyone. Chivolia is full of people who claim to be party loyalists, but the truth is they are criminals. There is nothing worse than a criminal who hides under the cloak of a political party. Those are dangerous because they feel immune. Imagine if cadres, which can never happen, cadres cannot protect the head of state. So this pretense, the minister in Wengwa, who announced that cadreism is back, should have been strongly cautioned by the power, the party, the UPND party structure. They should have publicly denounced that announcement because it is not in tandem, or is it in tandem? In sync. It is not in sync with the president's message. It is not aligned with the president's message. It is diametrically opposed to the head of state's core message. So anything that is diametrically opposed to the head of state is neither here nor there. It is null and void. It has to be aligned. It has to align with the president's message. What is the president's message? No cadreism. I mean, this is clear. So when a minister, when a member of parliament says something that is opposite of what the president is saying, it means the member of parliament has lost his way. He's out there in the wilderness. He's on his own. In my view, the UPND power structure should denounce anyone who says cadreism is back. Denounce it. Totally. Already, we're now seeing cadres parading through the CBD. And if this issue is not dealt with, it's going to get worse as we now go into election season. Because now the ticket is wearing regalia. And let me advise you, during the election period, don't wear regalia. Any political party, whether you are UPND, whether you are PF, don't wear regalia if you are not a party official. If you are a citizen and you support the party of your choice, whether it's PF, MMD, UP, don't wear regalia. Don't wear colors. You'll be victimized. Whether you are UPND, PF, they will victimize you. There are people out there who will brutalize you simply because of the t-shirt you wear. This is something the president has been fighting against since he became elected president of this country. But those efforts are being reversed by announcements like the one made in Wengwa by that member of parliament who said cadreism is back. It takes a lot of work, and it has taken HH years to allay party cadre conflict in the CBD. It only takes one act by one party official to announce no cadreism is back. You know, it's the word of God says, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be that go in thereby. Narrow is the way that leadeth to life, and few there be that find it. The narrow way, where few people are going, is the right way. But if you open the floodgates to chaos, it will be packed full of people. They want an excuse to unleash anarchy in the CBD. Criminals in Chivolia, in Kanyama, Bale Kabila, they want anarchy. They want it. And you've got a head of state who's trying to contain it. Don't do that. Don't. We only have one Zambia. If we're ichalo chinonga chiapia, tukayakui, fwe balanda. Where are we going to go? Kukongo. Bantu kulabadi pena. Where are we going? Ku Angola. We can't speak that language. Ku Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's got its own issues. Anyway, tawakwata na currency yabo. Bela wamfiama American dollars. You want us to go there? This is the only country we have, Bwana. Let us kabila it, protect it, safeguard it at all costs. All costs. Understand that? Okay. Thought I'd share that with you. Thank you for watching. Spread the news. Spread the news. Tell your councilman, tell your member of parliament, advise the leadership to push back against cadreism. It's only going to get worse in the CBD, especially in the CBD. When you unleash cadres, there is nothing worse than a cadre conflict in the midst of a political year. Oh. And if it's not properly managed, it's going to be bloodshed. Hear me. It's going to be bloodshed. We don't want that. We can see the writing on the wall. I can see it clearly. Let's push against it. Okay? Let's do that. All right, guys, thank you for watching. God bless. I got to go home. I'm taking my wife to the airport in a couple of hours. God bless. God bless Zambia. God bless the Republic. And God bless the President. All right.